This, and I'm going to turn it over. Melinda, Elmer, thank you, 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 and thank you. And the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you. I told Robert earlier today that it's super weird to present to a wall of faces that don't respond. So I would love to have your participation and response. And like, I'm used to when I do these talks, like actually having conversation back. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and just say, if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask, because it's so much more fun that way. So, I picked mindset for this topic because I felt like that's one of the most important things that's come up for this year. For me, things started to shift in the second quarter for people. You guys may have seen the same thing. I know lots of people talk about how the third quarter was where we really started to see the change, but I really started to feel the difference in the second quarter. Partially because we worked with a lot of buyers on my team, and the buyers were starting to just buyers were creamed for the last 3 years anyway, but it got worse when the interest rates suddenly increased. So not only was I help managing the mindset for myself, I was also managing it for my buyers agents and my team, who were super frustrated that they were losing buyers left and right. I think we had 23 buyers that we were working with in February, and most of them couldn't qualify for a house anymore by the time we got to March. Does anybody else have that experience? No one? I'm the only one?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
I love when we talk back. Okay, thank you. So there were a couple of things that I wrote down that I wanted to go over that I think really make a difference. Now, one of the most important things is who we surround ourselves and the information that we keep feeding our brain on a regular basis. So, does anybody else get emails like every day talking about how terrible the market is?
Yes.
Anyone?
Yes.
All the time.
I delete that stuff so fast that you don't even see it in my inbox. Because I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see it. I don't need anyone else telling me that the market is terrible. Get rid of it. I don't want an email from Inman News telling me that the market is terrible or that people can't afford their rents, things like that. Agents can't afford the rents. I don't want that information in my brain. So it's gone as fast as I possibly can get it out of my inboxes. And one of the things I love about this company and this group of people is that you all are amazing, positive people. And I get to be on the role plays and the chats with you guys every morning. And then we're doing prospecting every day. So that group of people that we surround ourselves is super important to the environment and what we're putting in our brains as well. Because basically we're seeing deals being done every day. We're seeing people set appointments every day. So it helps us to know that business is being done. And Mike Ferry says all the time, get out there, there's business to be done, right? So this is just reinforcing it. We're seeing each other. We're seeing the business happening every day. And that is important when everything else around us is telling us that business is not being done or there's not enough stuff. There's not enough stuff to go around. I've always been a believer that there is enough business for each and every one of us. We just have to go out and find our fair share of it, even in this kind of market. So even more important. Some other things that I wrote down were, stop wasting time and energy on things that you can't control. Now, we can't control the other agent's behavior. We can't control what our clients are doing most of the time. We can't control the lenders and the stunts that they pull. We can't control that stuff. We can't control what the interest rates are doing, right? So we could spend all of our time, energy, and effort stressing about those things, or we can just control the things that we are doing, how we spend our time, how we control our day. When you have a super strict schedule and you're prospecting for a certain amount of time, those those distractions, those things are lessened. Mike Ferry always says that there's nothing that can't wait until afternoon each day. And even when I was a brand new baby agent, I would try to do everything I could to put a barrier around me from 7 until 12 every morning while I was working and role playing and prospecting, to make sure that I wasn't getting distracted by other things. And that discipline really had carried forward for me, and it helps me to not allow myself to have those distractions during my prospecting time, during the money making time. And you really want to look at, and then we talked about yesterday, I know, Robert, that it's all about really focusing and drilling down. You know, I want to be able to go home at 5:30 and go see my kid, right? I don't want to be working here till 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. So my day has to be even stricter, even more tight, especially because when I get home, my child takes my phone out of my hand and puts it across the room. So I'm not even allowed to look at it. So that's some serious accountability. So, you know, spend your time and energy on things that you can control and that you can do. You can decide when you're going to prospect. You can decide when you're going to go on appointments. You know, I've never gone on a 7 or 8 o'clock at night appointment. So if you make a choice in your business that you don't want to go on appointments at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, you don't have to. The third thing I wrote down was stop comparing yourself to others. So when you compete against yourself and your business plan and your goals, it's going to be so much better than if you look at someone else in the office or someone else in your town and you're constantly comparing yourself to them. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know what so don't worry about them. Worry about yourself and worry about what you can do to make yourself better. What can you do to improve yourself? It does not help to be jealous of others because it just breeds more negative feelings. So only compete with your business plan and your goals that you have yourself. I love this thought. Stop resisting the changes that need to be made. We all have things that we resist. Our coach tell us to do, Neil tells us to do, Cindy tells us to do, Robert tells us to do, people tell us to do, and we resist making those changes. I listened to a Mel Robbins thing this morning, and it talked about the 5-second rule. And she said in there, if you find yourself resisting something, that's exactly the thing you should be doing. So you get 5 seconds to make a decision, to move forward and take action on whatever it is you're resisting. And she simplified it as much as getting out of bed. Who hits snooze on their alarm in the morning? Anyone? Okay. So Robert says no. So I used to hit snooze and now I'm not allowed to anymore because I have too much accountability in the morning. So when you wake up in the morning, the challenge she gave us was to, when you wake up in the morning, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and get your butt out of bed, right? Don't hit that snooze. You made a commitment to get up that time. Activate that challenge and get out of bed. You're going to feel so much better. And just doing that one thing each day is going to make you feel better about yourself because you made that commitment to get up at the time and you just get up and do it. You won't have an excuse that you can't go to the gym anymore because you're up anyway, so you might as well, right? So, so this next thought is strong people eliminate the option called failure. So doesn't necessarily mean top producers do this, but if you are strong, you're going to fail a whole lot. So you will learn that failure is part of the process and you get to decide how you want to respond to that. So if you have someone who is, you're failing on a high level, that's great. It won't matter as much. The more you fail, the more you get used to it and you just move on to the next one. I talked to 75 people yesterday and one person said no. Now I could choose to focus on the failure, and one person said yes, maybe, right? They said, yes, maybe. I could choose to focus on the 74 people that said no to me yesterday, or I could focus on the one that said yes. And I'm going to choose to focus on the one that said yes, right? So do as much as you can and work on strengthening your skills to be able to be even better so that you can fail even more. The next point here I wrote down was we have to have a unwavering desire to achieve the goals that we've set. Neil talks a lot about how when I first came to Masters, I had very clear and specific goals. I know some of you will be sad for me, but I was stuck at 50 deals a year for like 5 years. And I couldn't figure out how to get to that next level. But Neil and I sat down and we came up with a very specific list of goals and things that I want to accomplish in the next couple of years. And in, I think, 3 or 4 years, I managed to accomplish all of those things on that list and more. And last year, I closed over 100 deals with my team. So I was able to finally break that plateau of 50 deals. So when we tie those goals to what our actions are that we have to do every day, what's happening in the rest of the world doesn't matter. We might have to make extra calls. We might have to do more prospecting. We might have to do more of what we're doing to get what results are. But when you have that desire to achieve that goal and you're laser focused on it, you're going to make it happen and you're going to do whatever it takes. Has anybody ever gone on vacation and had to get deals in escrow before they left? And had like a giant list of things to do before you left and somehow you made it happen? That's the kind of energy you want to create every day, right? And think about how much more productive you could be. And you're not thinking about anything else that's happening. You're just focused on everything you need to get done because your goal is you're going on that vacation and you want to be able to have vacation and not work through your vacation, right? So you're trying to get everything done before you leave. So take that massive action, get it all done, and you do whatever it takes to accomplish those goals. Stop worrying about what's fair or unfair. Is it fair that interest rates went up? Does it really matter? Do we have any control over it? Nope. It goes back to that control thing, right? Don't worry about it. Just go do what you need to do. People have gotten used to the fact that interest rates are higher, so you just be used to it and go make it happen, right? So don't be a victim, make it happen. So I love this one. Don't try to please everyone or win all the time. It's not going to happen. Even top producers fail. I referred a deal to Neil Weichel a couple of years ago, and I thought it was like a total slam dunk that he was going to get the listing. And he called me and said, I'm sorry, I didn't get it. I was like, what? And he's like one of the best agents in the entire country, right? And he still didn't get the listing that was like my best friend's mom from when I was in 5th grade, right? Like 5th grade all through high school, she was my best friend. And they didn't list with him. So even those top producers screw up sometimes. So it's not going to happen every time. You're not going to win, and you can't make everybody happy. So just move on. This is something that I've been spending a lot of time with right now is your business and personal environment is critical. So every time I come into my office, I throw something away. So if you have clutter and garbage all over your office or old papers or old awards, my team always yells at me because I try to throw my old awards away because they were last year's awards. They finally made me keep my Centurion trophies, but the other stuff, it's all from the past. If I had like 25 trophies and stuff on my desk, my ego would get too big. So the idea is clear all the clutter, get rid of all the extra paper and stuff on your desk, and really only have what you need to focus on at that time. And part of your environment is also, again, who you hang out with. We have this great group of people we're all looking at right now, and that is a great group of people. Do you watch the news? Who watches the news? Anyone? Oh, good. Cindy does. Okay, good. A few people here and there, but Really like the stuff that you read, the stuff that during COVID, one of my favorite like fun books to read is fantasy, science fiction, trashy, like battles and all that stuff, right? And I had to stop reading that during COVID because it was too close to reality. Because there's all these post-apocalyptic books, right? It was like, everybody had died of disease, and then they were all like the survivors who were left over, right? And I was like, nope, I had to stop reading all that stuff. So now I read mostly inspirational books, biographies, or also if I really, really have a fun book, I'll read something like light and fluffy and fun just to get my brain in a positive state. I also tend to watch like the little tiny bit of television I do watch that's not Stinky and Dirty or Blaze and the Monster Machines. For those of you who have little kids, you understand. So if it's not that, I'm watching something that's funny or light. I don't watch anything about murder, darkness, or any of that stuff, because who wants that stuff in your brain? So just be really, really careful about what you put in your brain. Strengthen your mindset by expanding your thinking. I used to fight this one a lot. And when I was a younger agent, I kept thinking, I can't read those books about self-improvement. They're all self-help books. I don't need self-help. Why should I read those? But I started reading all those books. I started reading basically anything that anybody recommends to me that was inspirational to them. I read the book Find a Way by Diana Nyad. I will still say that book changed my life because I was going through a really rough patch in my life. And man, she went through a lot of crap and she still kept coming back for more. So like I try to read books like that because it really makes a difference in what inspires me. I started watching YouTube videos. This morning I was out on my run and I was listening to different YouTube videos and just like I'll type in inspirational, motivational speakers on whatever topic that I want. And I just pour all those good thoughts in my head. Whether or not I'm really actively listening to it, it's all just coming in there to just keep me going positively. So I highly recommend you can subscribe to tons of motivational videos on YouTube. My YouTube is full of monster truck videos and you can tell what my son likes. So it's monster truck videos and inspirational videos. And so, whoever you tend to resonate with, you can watch like Les Brown or Tony Robbins or all of those guys. So, and there's tons of great women too. So, the last thought I wrote down was move away from the traditional thought that you can't have much, that you can't be someone, right? Everybody thinks, you have to be someone special to be great at what you're doing, and you have to be something that, or someday that you'll get here when you do this, right? And it's okay to be happy and great and satisfied where you are and know that you're always trying to move yourself forward. It's okay. And we're amazing people the way that we are right now. Like the chances of us being born in this time, in this body, to these parents, to this, are so infinitesimal. But it's an amazing time to be alive. We have an amazing job with so much opportunity, and there's no reason that any of us can't thrive. And we're all amazing people, only getting better every day because we're all working on it. So carry that forward instead of this is where I came from, so I can't do this, or this is my background, so I can't do this, or whatever those limiting thoughts are in your head, let go of them and allow yourself to be the amazing bright light that everybody is. So those are all my notes. Any questions? Any conversation, thoughts?
What was the name of the book that you mentioned a couple minutes ago?
Diana Nyad, Find a Way.
There you go. All right, good. Questions for Melinda Elmer?
Hi, Melinda. This is Harry Shaw at the Marietta office, and thanks for doing this. This is a great, great conversation. Very inspiring. I was wondering, how long have you been in the industry, and what brought you into real estate, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. It'll be 20 years next year. And I got into real estate because I went to meet with a real estate agent who I wanted to buy a house. And the agent did everything to not listen to me and told me that I should buy a condo instead. And so I thought, well, I'll go get my license and then I can buy my own house.
It's awesome.
I didn't
Thank
buy
you
my
so
house
much.
for another 3 years, but yes, and then I did.
Awesome. Thank you, Melinda.
Mhm.
Melinda, great stuff. Hey, so what was the thing that helped you go from 50 to your first, what was your first achievement after 50? I don't remember that part of your
I can
business.
tell you, but the first year when I came over to Masters, I actually only did one deal more, but I made $100,000 more that first year. And I wouldn't say that there was one thing. I would say that there was a lot of small tweaks and adjustments to what was done. So when you I think of it this way. I think of a role playing session I had with Neil one time, and I think I went to the Irvine office, and um, it was like one line. We just tweaked what I was saying in that one line, and that one line carried forward into other things. So it's it's not. I wouldn't say it's any kind of big improvements for anybody, especially those of us who've been around for more than 5 minutes, right? It's really taking your script. So I do martial arts, right? I do Taekwondo. And this is the best way I can think of it. Bruce Lee says that you have to do 10,000 kicks before you can become a master. Now I've been doing kicks for the last 25 years. And so my front kick, I still have to work on it every single day, or I'm going to start doing it wrong. So if I keep working and the front kick is like the very first kick you learn as a white belt. And I'm testing for my 4th degree black belt this year. So I still have to work on that front kick every single day, or I'm not going to be able to pass my black belt test, right? Because if I don't do it right, I'm going to screw it up. The scripts are just like that. Like we keep role playing and practicing our scripts every single day, even though we know them, because there's something we can find in that script to tweak it to make it a little bit better, right? I try to, what I'm focused on with my scripts and when I'm role playing with the group here, especially, is I'm trying to make it even more conversational. I want it to sound like I'm having this conversation with you guys right now, right? Because I still have a little bit of script voice. So I'm trying to get rid of script voice. Who else has script voice? Anyone? Anyone? Okay, good. So maybe that's what the little tweak is that you're making, is how do you get rid of script voice, right? How do you make it sound like you're just having a conversation instead of having a script? I know the words, I've known the words for a long time, right? But it's just that little fine tune, that little tweaking. So I went from, and then the next year, so I did 51, then I did 54, then I did 51, then I did 69, then back to 53, then 78, then 98. So, right, it wasn't a perfect trajectory either. It kind of went up, down, up, down, up, down. But my income always went up. Now, the year that I went back down again, I actually took 4 months off because I gave birth. So
Right on.
just take a little break there.
Well deserved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Let's see, questions.
Melinda, there was a question in the chat box that says, can you share the small tricks you did to break into more deals? Which you
So,
kind of alluded to a little bit on that
yeah.
last point, but anything else you wanted to add to that?
The other thing, well, there's a number of different ones. So one was that at one point in time, I role played for 2.5 hours a day. So I'd role play for an hour in the morning, and then I'd role play for an hour and a half in the afternoons. And every morning I would do different scripts for prospecting, and in the afternoons every day I would do listing presentations, and I would record them, and then we would go back. That was why I was an hour and a half, because both of us would each do it. Then we would record it and we'd go back and we were brutal with each other about how we did on our presentation. And I remember the very first time I watched myself do a presentation, I was doing all these funky things with my hands, and it's like, what am I doing? So that, if you haven't done that, if you haven't videotaped yourself doing your listing presentation, I highly recommend it. The other things that I did was Robert and I role played our listing presentation live in person at least once a week for what, 2 years before COVID, right?
Every week.
Yeah, I gave my staff permission to call me out when I am not prospecting, when I'm supposed to be prospecting, as Angie reminded me. So they hold me accountable, and they will poke me if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing or getting in their business. So yeah, Charity, you asked about time blocking. Absolutely. And that, I mean, my schedule is basically come in, do rapid fire role play, and then it's straight into prospecting. And I mean, that's pretty much been my entire career, has been my morning schedule. Role play and then straight into prospecting. And everything else can happen after 12. The rest of your day could be a complete disaster. But if you get that right, it probably won't be. So, and you know, like even fundings and stuff, there's really, like, if it's not gonna fund, it's not gonna fund, and you're not gonna really be able to do anything about it. So, so I love it. Angie's giving me all sorts of side tips. So she said that I really took off when I made the 7 a.m. prospecting time and stuck to it every day. So that's actually something I'm working on getting back to, because I used to be in the office every morning at 7 a.m. and I would start my prospecting at 7:30 because I'd role play from 7 to 7:30 and then I would get on the phones from there. So I will make that commitment to all of you so you can hold me accountable. That's starting in the new year. I'm going to be in the office at 7 so that I can be on the phones by 7:30. Let's see.
Melinda, you know, there's a book by Tim Grover that I read that's it's about Michael Jordan's trainer and Kobe Bryant's trainer.
Great book.
And
Great book.
yep. And you bring up that point where it's the little tweaks that you have to work on. You know, they talk about the half of a 100th of a second quicker, you know, coming off the ball makes a difference. So like the swimmer talked about, Phelps talked about, you know, turning his hand 100th of an inch changed his game by 100th of a second, which means he won gold. How do you keep that mindset doing that? That's a lot of work to do 100th of a second. You just said that little teeny tweak changed my game.
Right.
Who tells you it, or who listens to it, or how do you figure it out, or do you just, oh, I got to tweak it?
You know, I mean, these days I have a team who counts on me. So that accountability has been huge. If anybody doesn't have an assistant that they are forced to pay, or somebody that they have a salary who's counting on them, I mean, that change in my business when I hired somebody and actually had to pay them on a regular basis was terrifying. Is anybody scared of hiring an assistant or something? Yeah, right?
Yeah, me. Yeah.
I mean, Randy has a huge payroll, right?
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, having that account first before I even had an assistant, but like I had a checkbook accountability in the very beginning. When I first started, I didn't have any staff, any team or anything like that. But my dad loaned me $6,000 to get started, and I lived off that $6,000 for the first 6 months. But if I didn't make any money, I'd quit my job. I straddled 2 jobs for a very short period of time, and I burned all my bridges and quit. And when I did that, it really gave me no options. I was going to be living on the street if I didn't make money. Then as I started to have success, expenses also go up with that success as well. So I've always had a lot of checkbook motivation, and having to be responsible for making sure that my staff would be very, very sad if I had to let them all go, and I would be very, very sad. So they would not let me fail like that, and they hold me accountable so that I can do what I need to do to be the rainmaker for our team. And frankly, now that I have a 3-year-old and he has some special needs, I want to make sure that he's taken care of and that he has the best chance of success as well. And I'm privileged to be in a position where I can make sure that he has the best care, the best everything in his life, to make sure that he has the best chance of succeeding in his world and his life for what he needs to have to do that as well. So I actually think my production bumped up even more when I had a kid, because I was forced to fit all of my day into a certain time frame, so that because I want to go home and spend time with my family, not keep working the whole time. And I had an even higher motivation because I wanted to have stuff be set up for him for sure. But there's no one standing over me with a whip. Well, maybe Angie sometimes, but there's no one standing over me with a whip saying, you better do this. It totally comes from here. And it's, again, tied to the goals that I have and what I want to achieve. Hopefully that answers your question.
So Melinda, real quick, how do you overcome like you just say, the script voice, even though you try a lot and make a twist? So I think I'm in the exact position. I'm listening to myself and I see a completely different compared to when I role play. My partner say I'm natural, but when I'm really on the call, I'm not natural. So I don't know what else should I do. Maybe you can share with me what trick you do to help me overcome that battle.
Keep recording it, listening back to it, and seeing what sounds funky. Keep doing it over and over. Role play with your coach. Do you have a coach?
Super. Not now. I just role play with my partners, and I'm still continue to make it sound like conversational with a lot of repeat and approve. So overall, I'm doing every day with role play. But when I got on the call, that's where the problem began. That I sound really different from what
hire an acting coach. I did that. I hired an acting coach, and I'd known him since high school, and I used to be in theater. And so I called him, I said, hey, I want to have you come work with me. So he did, but the very first thing he said, you sound weird, don't do that. So hire an acting coach. They're all over Southern California, super easy to find. So yeah, just type in acting coach, there'll be stuff that comes up, but that'll be a great way to do it.
Okay, thank you, I will check it out.
Melinda, I record my prospecting and I send them to my coach, and I get terrified of hearing what he has to say, because I don't listen to him first, because I know I won't send it to him if I listen to it, but it hurts worse when I hear when we're sitting together or we're on the phone and we're both listening to it. I say, I can't believe I sound like that, and it's very helpful.
Absolutely. So Robert and I even during COVID, Robert and I would role play, and we would do it on Zoom, and I would record it. And as painful as it was, I actually would then show it to Neil, and then Neil would watch it. And sometimes he'd be like, you're phoning that in. Okay, guilty. And then other times he'd be like, okay, this part's really good, but tweak this little bit here and tweak this little bit here. So recording is great. Video is even better. My 2 cents. We do all sorts of weird things with our bodies, and it's good to know what the consumer is seeing too, right? And sometimes they do weird things with their bodies. Whatever. But yeah, have fun with it. I mean, don't take ourselves too seriously. I guess if I had another mindset thing is, don't take yourself so seriously. Have some fun. I know I'm working on that and trying to have a little bit more fun. My team is really good at it, and I'm always working on having more fun, because I can get laser focused and get into the hunt. But have some fun with it. Like, I love calling my past clients and talking to them. If ever I have a bad day, I have like 10 of them who always give me like a huge ego boost. So if you're ever having a bad day and you know you did a great job for one of your past clients, call those past clients. That's another good tip. They'll make you feel really good about yourself. They might even give you a referral or some business, and they'll get you off on a good start to call your next person.
Melinda, that's great stuff. Share with me and the group about how you did 75 contacts yesterday. Because I did my database too, so, but I didn't do close to that number. So I want to be able to see when I grow
We
up.
talked about that a little bit. Well, I didn't do 75 in the morning, but I did 50 in the morning. But the stopwatch game, right? Has anybody heard of the stopwatch game? No, anyone? Okay. So a stopwatch game is where you take a stopwatch and you can only start it if the phone is ringing or you're talking to a potential client, right? Or you're talking to somebody on the phone. You can leave a message to, whatever. But use the stopwatch game. And if you're not doing one of those three things, it doesn't count as time prospecting. And you will find out very quickly how much time you waste in between calls. That's part of why the dialer can be a really good tool for people, because right as soon as you get off the call, it moves you to the next one, unless you're one of those that you have to push the button to move forward to the next one, because it's just pushing to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. Now, I don't like it because I start to get distracted and I start doing this. So I like to dial and just move on to the next person. But we spend a ton of time in between looking at our emails, reading the notes on our date, whoever our prospect is, seeing if we really want to call them or not, or if we should move on to somebody else. Is there someone else that's better on the list that I might want to call? Oh, wait, maybe I should go to the bathroom instead because I don't have to make my next call quite yet. I mean, we do all sorts of stuff like that. So challenge yourself to see if you can make things a little bit more efficient during that calling session. And there may be, like today, I had a shorter time today, but I only got 27 contacts this morning because I got 3 people on the phone who had longer conversations who want to buy or sell something in the next 30 days. So I had a slower morning. Yesterday, I only had 1 person who told me that they wanted to do something. So I had a 5-minute conversation with him, but he had to go. So that made it faster. And I cut people off. I don't talk to them as long about life, right? I try to move on. Like I had somebody this morning and I was like, hey, I don't want to keep you long, so I'm going to let you guys go. I'll talk to you in the new year and move on to the next person. I don't want to have a 30-minute phone call with somebody, right?
So Melinda, you say you hit 27 contacts this morning. Is that you call your past client or the people you know, or you call the expired source?
This morning, I just called past client center of influence and some old leads.
Got it. Okay. So how do you find the boredom in between when you call and wait, especially the expired? With the very low pickup rate, how do you set the environment that continue to stay focused and stick with that?
So I used to call it in 2007 through 2010. I did pretty much nothing but called expireds. But at the time, I actually used 2 phones. I didn't have any boredom because I used 2 phones to dial. So I was dialing one over here, this was ringing, and I was dialing one over here, this was ringing, and then I was dialing one over here, and this was ringing. So I made a game out of it. So I don't like to use the dialer that often because I get bored when I don't have anything to do. So actually dialing and looking at the phone numbers. Now for expireds for me today, I actually would pull up that property so I can just quickly look through it, see if there was something totally janky or funky about the property. Like maybe it was one of those where they only had 1 photo of the outside, or maybe they have tenants in the property. I want to try and look at that really quickly. So I'm not like just sitting. If I'm just sitting here staring at my screen, I'm going to be bored and I get distracted. And then when they pick up, I'm like, who's this? Because I'll be looking at my email or something. So I try to really just focus on what it is I'm doing in that particular property at that moment when I'm calling them. Does that make sense?
Melinda, I have a question. How
Thank
far
you.
back do you go on those expireds?
I don't call a ton of expireds currently. So, but I used to do one day, 3 days, 5 days, 2 weeks, 1 week. 2 weeks and 1 month, and then 3 months and 6 months.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, so it sounds like right now you're calling a lot of your database. My question is, in the beginning, other than the people that you already knew, that you would count as your sphere and database, what did you do to build that over time to get it where your database is at right now? And how many people do you have in your database?
Currently, I'm about 2,800 in my database. And when I moved to Long Beach, I knew this many people.
Got it.
So now I pretty much can't go somewhere that I don't run into somebody I know. It's very, very rare. Like I go to a movie and see a movie in a dark movie theater and somebody's going, "Hey Mel, how's it going?" So
what activities did you do in order to be able to create that sphere?
So I went out and did as many kinds of activities of what I like to do. So I used to belong to like a running and walking club. I used to not be a runner. I'm slowly becoming a runner. But like I would walk with people and I go hang out with them and do fun things with them. But it was because it was something I liked to do. It wasn't because I was there for business. I went to these brunch bunch groups and it was like speed networking basically. So I would go meet people at these groups and we would exchange information because this was in the days really still before Facebook and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
So we would actually give each other cards or phone numbers or things like that, right? And I just got out and met a ton of people. I went out and I did door knocking. I went out and met people in my neighborhood and just talked to anybody that I could possibly get my hands on. And then again, 2007 to 2010, I called expireds all day long. When I was a brand new agent, I actually went around to all the other agents in the office and asked them if they had any buyers that they didn't want to work with, because I thought, well, there's these listing agents in the office who don't want to work with the buyers. I'd be perfectly happy to take them off their hands and give them a referral fee if they want to. And they were very happy to give them to me. Now, some of them were kind of crappy leads, but it definitely taught me how to pre-qualify better, right? But I was hungry. I mean, I would pretty much do whatever I needed to do. You know, again, tying to your goals, I needed to pay my bills. I needed to pay my rent or I was going to be on the street. So I was prepared to go out and talk to as many people. I called, because I knew no one here in Long Beach, I actually called all of my friends all over the country. And I went to school in the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and I can't tell you how many deals that I referred to one of my friends who was an agent in Champaign-Urbana. And this is a tiny little college town, but I probably paid for 3 or 4 years worth of coaching by just all the referrals I sent to Champaign-Urbana through that. I used to call really early in the morning. I would start calling at 7:30, but I'd call my friends on the East Coast and ask them who they knew that was thinking about moving and tell them that I could connect them up with great agents. So I actually started getting the attention of different lenders, and I would talk to them and they would connect me up with different agents if I didn't know agents in that area or if there wasn't an MFO agent there. And I did tons and tons of referral business my first couple of years because I didn't know people here, but I was still making money because I was calling and doing referrals all over the country.
Got it. Thank you.
So if you're not doing that, definitely do that too. Call your friends out of state, call your clients out of state, call everybody you know.
All right, good stuff. Well, we're at 1:02, and so I want to be respectful of Melinda's time because, like she said, she does time block her activities, and you know, I can get away with, you know, taking her for a little bit, but if we go any longer, I'm gonna have to owe her more. And, you know, I'm trying to keep my tab as short as possible. So everybody, please do me a favor and unmute yourselves. Give her the round of applause that she deserves for being on here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank
Great
you.
job,
You,
great
Melinda.
job.
Great call.
Great information.
Awesome.
Melinda, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you,
We
thank
had
you, thank you,
74
thank you.
people. Woo.
I know.
Yeah, you
Well,
did,
look,
Mel.
I
Yeah, you
Melinda,
did.
I told you this was strategy. The week of Christmas, I need a name to pull people in. This is why I booked you for this week, because
Oh, right,
no
lots
one would have, if I was doing the meeting today, we would have had 17, because we had you, the number switched. 71. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Here's one last takeaway I'd like to give to everyone based on Melinda's topic here. You mentioned, Melinda, at the very end that, you know, there's no excuses, right? It's anything like that. So let me ask a question here to the group before everybody leaves. How many people here, English is not your first language? Okay, pretty good.
Me.
Pretty good group of you. English is not your first language. And yet I'm looking at some of the people raising their hands. I saw Jack Ma raise his hand. I saw Abigail raise her hand. I saw a few of you, Juan Carlos, raise his hand. A few of you others raise your hand. A lot of production, even though English is not your primary language. Who here is from, if let's say you're in California or wherever you live, you were not necessarily raised where you do business right now? Okay, I see Melinda, Tess, Ray. Okay, Cindy raises her hand. Big production coming from some of those people as well. So my point that I want to leave with everyone on this idea is that in real estate, there is no language requirement. You don't have to speak a certain language in order to close a lot of business in real estate. There's no gender requirement. Now, let's be honest, even in 2022, there is in some industries a gender wage gap in some industries. In real estate, that is not the case. As a matter of fact, at our company, the women dominate the men in terms of dollars. Just a true statement, you know, because you have Mark and Al, but then you have Melinda, and then you have Linda Holmes and Meg Middleman and all these other different people, right? Scalio team has two of the 3 members are women. Poor Bill Scalio, he's outnumbered. You know, so there's no gender requirement. There's no location requirement. Some of you aren't from where you currently do business. Okay. So anyone here did anyone here, be honest, did anyone here not graduate college? Be honest. Okay. So there's no education requirement in order to be great at real estate. The point I'm making here at the end of Melinda's talks is that, you know, that there's no excuses. You picked an industry where there's no requirements for age. Oh, last one. Anyone here? Well, I won't ask because I don't ask anyone their age. But some of you are older than 60, older than 70. Some of you are under 30. There's no age requirement. There's no language requirement. There's no location requirement. There's no experience requirement. There's no requirements to be a mega producer in real estate. The only requirement is that you have to believe you can do it. That's it. Believe you can do it and take action is the only requirement you need to make a lot of money in this business. And so for those of you that have those, as Melinda said, those limiting beliefs in your head, well, it's because of my accent. It's because I'm not from here. It's because. Bullshit. Sorry for cursing. I know I'm supposed to be working on that. But that's just the truth. It's a limiting belief you put on yourself. And it's just not the case in this business. It is in other businesses, not in real estate. Make sense? There you go. Melinda, thank you, thank you,
Well said.
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And if I haven't said so, Thank you.
Thank you,
Angie, thank
Melinda.
you for letting
Thank you,
her
Robert.
do this, because we know Angie's the real boss of the Elmer team. So Angie, thank you
Sure.
for lending us Melinda for an hour.
Angie's in charge. I always say
And
that.
Angie's in charge. You know, I say this all the time when I go to the offices. I wear the suit, but I'm not in charge. Okay, not even close. All right, everybody, thank you for being here. Hope you got a lot of good stuff out of today. And we still have some fun stuff this afternoon, so you don't have to leave just yet. We got open mic with Rudy, Veronica, Donna, and at 3:30, we're going to do a refresher on Preferred Client Club, which is one of the Century 21 tools that you can utilize for your clients. So again, Melinda, I can't thank you enough. You're the best. Everyone else, great job. If you need anything, I'm around. If you don't need anything, I'm not.